For years, retirees have been told one very clear message about Social Security. Delay as long as possible. Wait until age 70. That's the smart, responsible move. And I understand why that advice sticks. Delaying Social Security feels safe. It feels like you're locking in a higher guaranteed paycheck for life. It feels like you're protecting yourself against the biggest fear retirees have, outliving their money. And in a world full of market swings, inflation headlines, and uncertainty, that guarantee really feels like an anchor. So for most people, delaying becomes the default, not because they ran the numbers, not because it fits their full retirement plan, but because it feels conservative, feels disciplined. It feels like the decision that you're supposed to make, right? But here's what most retirees don't realize. Delaying Social Security does not eliminate risk. It shifts risk. And depending on how the rest of your retirement is structured, that shift can silently create more stress, more tax exposure, and less flexibility, even though everything feels safe on the surface. I've seen retirees delay Social Security and feel calm at first, only to realize later that they were draining their portfolio faster than expected, paying higher taxes down the road, and postponing the very years they hope to enjoy the most. And I've also seen retirees claim earlier or at full retirement age and feel more secure, not less, because the decision fit their overall plan. The difference is not about being right or wrong. It is about understanding when delaying Social Security truly helps and when it silently starts to work against you. Hi, I'm Mark Wisniewski, president of Southern Incomes. I work with pre-retirees and retirees who want clear, tax-aware income plans, not one-size-fits-all advice that sounds good but doesn't really hold up in real life. If you find this helpful, like and subscribe. And if you want help coordinating Social Security with your investments, taxes, and retirement income instead of just relying on a rule of thumb, you can book a time with me using the link in the description. Let's talk about why delaying Social Security feels so reassuring. On paper, delaying Social Security, it looks like a no-brainer. Your benefit increases each year that you delay past full retirement age. The income is backed by the government, and it lasts as long as you live. For retirees worried about longevity, that combination feels powerful. It creates a sense that you're building a stronger foundation, a bigger, safer paycheck that you cannot outlive. And emotionally, that matters because markets fluctuate. Investments feel uncertain, but Social Security, it feels stable. That's why delaying often feels like the safe choice. But retirement decisions do not exist in isolation. Every choice interacts with something else, whether you plan for it or not. The silent assumption behind delaying at all costs. Most advice to delay Social Security is built on the silent assumption you'll comfortably fund your lifestyle from your portfolio while you wait. That assumption sounds reasonable, but it's also where the risk starts to creep in because while you're delaying Social Security, several things are happening at the same time. You're pulling more money from your investments. You may be selling assets earlier than you planned. You're exposing your portfolio to more market risk during those early years of retirement. In other words, delaying Social Security does not remove risk, it moves risk from Social Security to your portfolio. And whether that trade-off is good or whether it's bad depends entirely on the rest of your plan. When delaying Social Security truly makes sense. Let's be clear, delaying Social Security can be a very smart decision in the right circumstances. It often makes sense when you expect to live well into your 80s or even into your 90s. If you have reliable income sources to cover spending while you wait. Your portfolio withdrawals are modest and well-structured. You're coordinating benefits to maximize survivor income for a spouse. In these situations, delaying can increase lifetime income and that long-term security. But notice what's missing from that list. Because everyone told me to delay. Delaying works best when it's coordinated, not just automatic. When delaying Social Security silently increases risk. This is where delaying starts to feel safe, but actually isn't. One, when you're overdraining your portfolio early on. If you're delaying Social Security and covering your lifestyle primarily from investments, you may be increasing sequence of returns risk. Early retirement years matter way more than most people realize. If markets struggle while you're selling assets to bridge over to Social Security, those early withdrawals can permanently reduce portfolio flexibility later on. Even if the markets recover by then, you may end up locking in losses simply to delay that guaranteed benefit. That's not always a good trade. Let me put it simply. If you knew for certain that the market was going to take a major hit in the early years of your retirement, the last thing you want to do is draw income from your portfolio. Two, when taxes are pushed into a less flexible future. Delaying Social Security often means higher withdrawals from tax-deferred accounts early on. Large account balances later, higher required withdrawals down the road. That can push retirees into higher tax brackets later in life, right when the flexibility is at its lowest. Many retirees delay Social Security to keep taxes low, only to face higher taxes later when Social Security, required withdrawals, and other income start to stack on top of each other. Delaying income doesn't always reduce taxes. Sometimes it just reshuffles them. Three, when guaranteed income comes at a cost of your flexibility. Social Security is reliable, but it is not flexible. Once you delay and then start claiming, that benefit is largely locked in. If delaying forces you to give up flexibility elsewhere, especially in your portfolio, that trade-off should be intentional. Guaranteed income is valuable, but flexibility is often just as important in retirement. The psychological cost no one talks about. Here's something that rarely gets discussed. Delaying Social Security can silently change how retirees live. Many people feel pressure to spend less, travel later, and just postpone experiences. Not because they can't afford them, but because they're waiting to feel safer. And that can turn the early years of retirement, often the healthiest and most active years, into the most restricted years. If delaying Social Security causes you to delay living, that's a cost worth acknowledging. Why break-even analysis is not the full answer. You've probably seen the Social Security break-even charts. If you live past age X, delaying wins, and vice versa. The math is helpful, but it's also incomplete. Retirement planning is not just about maximizing one number. It is about cash flow timing, tax coordination, market risk, spousal planning, lifestyle priorities. Two people with the same life expectancy can make very different claiming decisions, and both can be completely correct. The right decision depends on the entire system, not just a single calculation. How confident retirees actually approach Social Security. Retirees who feel confident don't ask, what's the best age to claim? They do ask, how does Social Security fit my income plan? What risks am I reducing and which ones am I increasing? How does it affect taxes now and later on? And what happens if life does not go exactly as planned? Social Security becomes a tool, not a rule. When claiming earlier can actually reduce risk. This surprises many people. In some cases, claiming earlier or at full retirement age can reduce portfolio withdrawals, lower that sequence of return risk, smooth out your taxable income, and preserve flexibility later on. Even though the monthly benefit is smaller, the overall benefit may be much stronger and more resilient. That doesn't mean earlier is better. It means automatically delaying isn't always safer. Social Security is one piece, not the whole plan. The biggest mistake retirees make is treating Social Security as a standalone decision. It is not. It is one income stream that must be coordinated with your investments, taxes, your healthcare costs, longevity planning, and your spousal benefits. When Social Security is optimized just in isolation, something else often gets compromised. If you're in your late 50s or your early 60s, you're probably starting to hear a lot of delay, delay, delay. But before you accept that advice, pause and ask yourself, what am I giving up to delay? Where is my income coming from in the meantime? How does this affect taxes later? Does this decision increase or reduce my flexibility? Those questions matter more than any blanket rule. Delaying Social Security feels safe because it promises higher guaranteed income. And in the right situation, that absolutely helps. But delaying without coordination can silently increase portfolio risk, tax exposure, and your stress, even though it feels responsible. The goal isn't to just delay or claim early. The goal is to choose the timing that fits your entire retirement system. That's where real safety comes in. If you're approaching Social Security age and feeling unsure about when to claim, that's totally normal. It's one of the most misunderstood decisions in retirement. If you want help coordinating Social Security with your investment, taxes, and income plan, instead of just relying on some rule of thumb, you can book a time with me using the link in the description. And if this helped you think differently about Social Security, like and subscribe for more straight talk guidance.